Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's IC Realtime webinar. In today's webinar, we will be discussing our IC Realtime mobile application solutions. Those solutions include ICRSS Pro, as well as the ICView mobile application. We'll be discussing setup, configuration, and utilization of the ICRSS Pro and ICView platform. My name is Michael Caballero. I'm the product specialist here at IC Realtime, and let's get started. So pretty much ICRSS Pro, the differences between ICRSS Pro and ICView are basically feature sets. ICView is our entry-level application. It is pretty much for your end users to demo the ICRSS application. It is very much limited to only a few abilities such as playback as well as favorites. So it's a very limited version of the ICRSS Pro application. Otherwise, it very much looks the same and functions the same. Just the functionality on that application is limited. When it comes to ICRSS Pro, it's the fully featured application, including live preview, playback, device manager, local files, EMAP, favorites, Alarmmanager, local config, and a help menu. Now, a few of these things are generally not utilized since our recorders do not support them, such as EMAP. Otherwise, most of the features on the application are pretty much available and utilized by the end user. So we'll go ahead and start with live preview. And live preview is where you come to view your cameras that you have connected to your recorder or you have added to ICRSS Pro themselves. To view a camera in ICRSS Pro, you'll simply tap the plus icon that is centered in the middle of each of the split view windows. You'll tap that plus icon and it will show you all of your different devices that you have added to it, as well as your favorite cameras you have added to it. So we can utilize demo at this time, and we'll select camera 1. So as you can see, once you tap the plus sign and you select your cameras in question, they begin to appear on your live view screen. Now, once you do have your cameras up and running, if you are utilizing PTZ cameras, as you can see below our 4 split view, you do have your 8-way remote that you can use to move your PTZ camera up, down, left, and right. You also have options to utilize zoom, focus, and your aperture setting to allow more light into your image. Now, below your PTZ controls, you do have all of your functions for live view available to you. Some of these functions you do generally utilize, and a few of them you will not. Now, the ones that you will utilize, first is going to be the split view selection. So with ICRSS Pro, you have the ability to modify your grid view from 4 all the way up to 16. To the right of your grid view icon is going to be your camera icon. Now, that camera icon allows you to take a snapshot of any occurrence that is occurring at live view at the moment. So it is basically a manual snapshot function. To the right of the camera icon, you have a video camera icon. Now, that video camera icon allows you to manually record any footage that you're watching in live view. So basically a manual record function. To the right of that, you have your rewind 30 seconds. So that'll allow you to go back 30 seconds in the scene you're currently viewing. You also have a lock icon there. The lock icon in the center of the blue strip that we have here allows you, when using a IC Realtime intercom system that utilizes a door latch to allow you to unlock the door, that lock allows you to utilize that door latch from the application. So you can use this in tandem with our intercom system to allow access from someone who is outside of your home if you have one of our intercom systems set up at your home. To the right of that is going to be your microphone icon. Now, your microphone icon, just like your lock icon, allows you to utilize our intercom station. When someone rings the doorbell at our intercom station, from any of the touch panels that you use along with our intercom station, you have the ability to answer the door. Well, you can very much do the same thing from the mobile application as well. So if you're away from home or away from any of your touch panels, you still have the ability to answer your door if you have someone notify you from your intercom station. Now, next we have a speaker icon. The speaker icon allows you to listen to audio if you are using any of our intercoms, or any cameras that have audio enabled as well. You also have caution icon. Now your caution icon allows you to turn on or off any of your alarm outputs that you are utilizing. Let's say you're utilizing specific alarm outputs to turn on a latch or what have you. You can enable or disable those from the application directly. Next, we have the painter's easel, for lack of a better term, which basically allows you to adjust your view settings on the recorders themselves. Now, something to keep in mind is that you can adjust the brightness, the sharpness, contrast, and what have you, but that is only reflected in the application itself. It does not change the brightness, sharpness, or contrast of the actual camera in question. It only modifies that in the application itself. So you don't have to worry about seeing a brighter image on any of your other devices or on your monitor connected to the recorder itself. And lastly is your favorites. You can create favorites in the ICRSS Pro applications, and when you do create those favorites, you can activate those favorites here in LiveView. Once you select your favorite, it will bring up all of your cameras, all that you have in favorites, all at the same time. So that pretty much covers live preview, and we'll move to playback. Now, along with live preview, playback is the alternate feature that you're going to be using, or your end users are going to be using the most in ICRSS Pro. Pretty much any of the features are secondary compared to live view and playback, as that's generally what your end user has purchased in a recorder and cameras for. So as you can see, playback looks very much like live preview. You have the ability to pull up the cameras in question in your split view grid using the plus sign with the circle around it. Now, do keep in mind that when you do press that plus sign, you're going to have a few different options from your live view plus sign icon. In playback, it's going to ask you for a few things. First is going to be your time and date. So here's where you're going to select your time and date in question that you do want to view for playback. Do keep in mind that when you select your time and date, playback functionality in any of our IC Realtime recorders does span only 24 hours. You cannot pull up footage from one day to the next. It has to be within the same 24-hour range. So once you do have your time frame selected, you're going to move to your record type. Now, the majority of recorders are going to be recording in regular 24/7 record. And on our IC Realtime recorders, that is generally indicated in a green timeline. So as you can see there for regular, we have the green indicated there. And we have colored indicators for our other record settings as well. One thing to pay attention to is that you have to match up your record type here with the type that you're recording on your NVR or AVR. So for example, if you're recording in motion, if you select regular recording, then you will not see any footage because that's not the record type you're recording in. So you would then have to come down and enable motion detect recording indicated in orange. Same for the other features as well, including alarm and IVS alert. So we're going to enable regular recording, and then we're going to select our cameras in question. Once you do select your camera in question, if you do have footage available to you, you will begin to see that footage. Yeah, it looks like we're having a few technical issues, and I can't pull up any footage currently. Had I had some footage available to you, that footage would populate in the timeline across the bottom of the application that we have here on screen. Then you would simply slide that timeline left or right to line the timeline up with the time in question. Once you did have that footage available to you, you would then select your grid view, or you could do that before you selected your footage. You would then have the ability to utilize your snapshot icon. Now, your snapshot icon, just like in live view, allows you to take a snapshot of what you're viewing at the time. Again, a manual record. Except in this instance, you would be taking a snapshot of the recording that you're viewing and then exporting that footage off onto the application itself. You can do the same thing with the video camera icon, and that would allow you to cut your specific clip for your time frame that you wanted to export, just in case you didn't want to export the entire piece of footage. Along to the right of that, you have your fast forward, play, and increase in playback speed icons to the right of the camera icon. After that, you have your speaker icon, which allows you to hear the audio that is running alongside your recorded video. Lastly, you have your 30-second return icon that allows you to go back 30 seconds in live view footage. So that pretty much covers live view. And again, I apologize for not being able to show you any playback footage that we have available here. It looks like we're having a bit of technical difficulty. So Device Manager is where you go to add your devices, your AVRs, your NVRs, your IP cameras to ICRSS Pro. So we have basically two methods in adding devices. First is going to be P2P. Now P2P allows you to use our P2P protocol to enable remote access. Now this remote access is enabled from your specific device in question directly to your recorder or IP camera. So here we're on ICRSS Pro on a iPad, and I would then have a connection directly from the iPad to the recorder. There would be no need for any port forwarding of the router in question or router/modem. So to enable P2P, you'll simply come here to the P2P tab. You'll select your register mode of P2P. You'll name your device. So this would be your NVR, your AVR. You'll give it a general name so you can identify it. Next, you have an entry for your serial number. Now your entry for your serial number, that's going to be the serial number of the device you're trying to add. So your AVR, your NVR, your IP camera, that's the serial number you would need to enter in there. We also have a solution to scan a QR code that is made available on any of our IP cameras or recorders. You'll simply go to the P2P tab on the recorder or IP camera. You'll enable that P2P setting. Once you enable P2P, a QR code will be generated on screen, and you'll utilize the camera on your mobile device to scan that QR code, and that serial number entry will be filled in by that. Once you have your serial number entered, you're going to enter in your username and password, and you'll simply click Start Live Preview, and that will load your cameras for you. So as you can see, once you hit Start Live Preview, it takes you right to Live Preview and loads your cameras. The second option for adding recorders and IP cameras is going to be IP/domain. Now do keep in mind that the IP/domain register mode you will utilize for both public or local IP addresses as well as any ICDDNS domain names if you utilize our ICDDNS service. As you can see, we do have an ICDDNS register mode, but we do not utilize that anymore. We simply utilize the IP/domain register mode. Now once we're into the IP/domain register mode, again, we're going to name our device with a generic name. We're going to enter in the address, and now the address is going to be either our public or local IP address or the IP/domain name that we're going to utilize. Once we enter in that IP/domain name or public IP address, we'll then enter in the TCP port number of the device in question that we're adding. So the TCP port number of our IP cameras is always going to be 37777, just like you see on screen. If you're using our AVRs and NVRs, we do have an alternate TCP port that we do utilize sometimes, and that is going to be 32789. So if that were the case, you would simply select port number, clear it, and then enter your 32789 TCP port number. You can also utilize any port number that you have changed the TCP port number to. We do now advise that you utilize a number other than the default TCP port when utilizing our recorders. So it's always great to change that port number, especially if you're port forwarding the TCP port. You can simply change that to something like 44789, 35622, anything within the 35,000 port numbers that you do have available to you. Once you have your port number in, again, you're going to simply enter in your username and password of the AVR, NVR, or IP camera, select Start Live Preview, and load your cameras in question. Now we'll move to local files, and local files is where any of your manually snapshot or recorded files will reside. Once you do take those snapshots or those recordings, they will arrive here to local files. You'll have your cameras first, and they will allow you to select your cameras and view your playback footage. You also have the option to view any of your snapshots that you have saved as well. Next will be favorites, and favorites again allows you to add your favorite cameras and then load those cameras in live view all at the same time. Or if you simply want to save a group of cameras that you utilize often and view often, but don't want to have to go through picking those cameras individually, you can add them to a favorites list. To add cameras to a favorites list, you'll hit the plus sign in the top left corner. That'll allow you to name your favorites. Once you do name your favorites, you can go into your favorites and then hit the plus sign again and select your cameras and questions to add them to that favorites. You can also select favorites views. So if you have a specific grid view that you like to utilize, you can create that grid view in here and save that as well. Now, Alarmmanager is what I believe the biggest asset after live view and playback in ICRSS Pro. Alarmmanager is what allows you to receive your notifications from your recorders or IP cameras. Previous to this Alarmmanager, you had to utilize email to notify your clients of when there was a motion detection incident or other notifications that we had available to us. The problem with that is using an email client for notifications is a bit unwieldy, and we really wanted to create something that would keep everything as an all-in-one solution, and we've done that here with Alarmmanager. Now, first is going to be your push config. Push config is where you're going to create your notifications. So let's utilize Mike's demo, for example. We'll go ahead and enable that. And once we enable it, you'll see that you have a few options available to you. The first is going to be your push type. So what kind of notification would you like to receive? You have a few options here. The first is going to be live preview. Live preview, when you receive your notification, takes you right to live view. So you're seeing what's occurring at the time you receive that notification. Video allows you to select a playback video of the incident in question. So as opposed to live view where the incident may have happened and now you're viewing real time, video allows you to view the playback footage of the incident in question so that you can see what had transpired. Lastly is going to be image. An image allows you to simply receive a snapshot of the incident. So it's up to you what you would like to utilize, and you'll simply utilize that option as your notification view. Now below that is the notifications in question that you want to view. First is going to be IVS. And IVS is our intelligent video surveillance software. And that allows you to use tripwires and intrusion zones to capture objects in a scene. Once those instances do occur, you'll then receive those notifications here on the application itself. We also have that functionality for things like motion detection, camera masking, camera focus, face detection, audio detection, local alarm, and hard drive alarms. So keep in mind you have an entire suite of notifications that you can receive to your application, and when you do receive them, they'll be self-contained in the application in this event list. This will be where all your notifications will reside. You'll see the notifications on your smart device, but to retrieve them, you'll come into the application and you'll enable those notifications here in Alarmmanager. So this is a really big asset for why people should pay the premium for utilizing ICRSS Pro. Lastly is local config, and these are a few of your different options that you can utilize through the application to push out to the recorder. So for example, PTZ step, that would be the speed at which the PTZ moves from location to location, or when you move the PTZ manually, that is the speed at which that PTZ will move. Capture mode allows you how many images to capture when you utilize your image capture feature, your camera icon in live view and playback. Push duration is the time in between your push notifications, so you're not receiving push notifications one right after the other. Of course, we have real-time playback. Real-time playback is when you do a manual playback, it's the amount of time that it will select for playback. Protection allows you to password protect the application. So if you are concerned about anybody having access to your mobile device and opening up your software to look at your cameras, here is where you can password protect your software. Lastly, URL. URL is a very much underutilized feature. I really recommend this towards integrators. It allows you to input a URL for an application. And when you do put in that URL for an application, you can easily switch back between applications using that URL. So it's a great feature if you have something like a control system application and you want to quickly pivot into your ICRSS Pro application for playback, as generally control system applications don't support playback, simply viewing. And lastly, I'll show you guys the help menu. Now, the help menu is a great feature for your end users. It allows you to take them through every feature of the application. There's screenshots along with descriptions of every single feature in our ICRSS Pro application. So if you're unsure of a feature set that you do have available to you in ICRSS Pro, or you just want to tutor your end users on how to utilize that, we do make that available to you. Thank you very much for joining us in today's IC Realtime webinar, and have a great rest of your day.